I'm Matt Bouchard with NAREIT's REIT.com here in New York City for REITWeek 2015. Joining me is Susan Wachter, finance professor with the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business. Susan, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Now, my first question, I'd like to ask you, can you explain the evidence that exists indicating that some REIT management teams were rewarded for taking the proper steps during the financial crisis?
In work that I've done with colleagues Andrei Pavlov and Eva Steiner, we see an interesting phenomenon going into the crisis, 2006. Even controlling for the risk position that various REITs were having, how much leverage, the maturity, the fact that they actually took steps in 2006 to reduce leverage, to increase maturity, is rewarded, separate and above from their risk characteristics, is rewarded by shareholders in the 2007-2009 period. So it's as though the shareholders are rewarding the very fact that someone is at the helm of the ship and is watching overall conditions and is preparing for the crisis to come. We see it pretty clear in the data.
Now, to what extent were riskier capital structures punished by the market during the crisis?
They were. They're pretty severely punished. So leverage was punished after the crisis. And I think it's fair to say that no one really understood the depth of the crisis we were going to go into. Certainly the Fed didn't observe this. REITs as a whole did. They were deleveraging, and we see the reward for that. And I believe that they now, of course, have learned from this extreme period of volatility, and we see that in today's state of leverage as a state where, in fact, it's quite conservative compared to historic norms.
And picking up on that a little bit, what kind of implications does this have for how REIT executives can add shareholder value?
Well, REITs, of course, are infinitely long-lived corporations with exposure to real estate over all the cycles. And we are at a point where interest rates are low. It's not news. The news is how low can they go? You know, could they go lower? Well, the news is that we pretty much are there, and when they go higher is unknown. However, it does appear that the entities holding real estate assets for the long run have taken steps to prepare. So we never know what's going to happen in the future, but the preparatory steps, learning from the past, seems to have happened. We see that in maturity, we see that in leverage overall. So that's a better position to be at than one where we didn't learn from history.
Great. Thank you so much for your insights.
My pleasure.
For more on this and other REIT news and analysis, be sure to visit REIT.com.